Welcome back. We begin midday today talking about air quality. Dr. Michal Mehta is a professor at TRU. One of his areas of interest is about air quality. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Yes.
I'm delighted to be here.
It's great to have you. You are with the Department of Geography and Environmental Studies at TRU.
That's right.
How are things going up at the university?
Oh, great. Lots of things happening. Wonderful new batch of students every year. It's an exciting place to work.
An opportunity to get them thinking about important things such as air quality, an issue that has been contentious in our area of the world, with the proposed Ajax mine being one of several factors that has people concerned about breathing clean air here.
Well, you know, air quality is one of the biggest environmental and health risk issues on the planet. About 7 to 8 million people on a global scale die from air pollution. And in Canada, it's about 21,000, which is about 9 times more than the number of people who've killed in car accidents.
Every year, 21,000?
Every year. So it's a big issue. It's something we have to focus on.
So one of your projects that you've been involved in the last few years is installing a dozen air quality monitoring stations around various areas of the city.
Yeah, that's right. So we've been working very hard in the last few months to actually put a dozen of these small purple air monitors, as they're called, all across Kamloops. And part of the reason is that the issue is complex. Air quality is highly variable. It changes based on where you live. It changes based on a variety of factors, including industrial pollution, residential pollution from wood-burning appliances, transportation, including rail and vehicle traffic. Yet, you know, before we had these things in play, there were only 2 air quality monitors in this entire city. So we needed to do something.
So let's take a look at the map that we have on the screen here. This sort of suggests where the stations are. Give us a little bit of a brief overview of what this is about.
Right. So people in the community who want to host a sensor had a chance to connect with me, and they still do if they want to go forward with this. And we were able to create a distributed grid or an array of air quality sensors. I like to call it a swarm of sensors. It's kind of like if you have a hive of bees, and they're all flying around and they're looking for the right flowers and the right nectar. The more you have, the more likely they are to come back to that hive and have good information. Well, that's our approach here. Lots of detailed information, lots of what we call granularity, fine resolution of detail. We can see in real time how air quality is changing every 20 seconds. The provincial monitors, there were only 2 of them, one downtown and one now up in near the proposed Ajax mine site, would only give hourly averages. But you know, we breathe in at least 8 to 12 times a minute. So I think it's important to have that kind of detail.
We saw numbers attached to where those stations were. What are those numbers telling you? And I see that they are proportionately dispersed around town in different areas, which is great, right? But what are the stations showing you?
Well, the numbers that we see on the raw form of the map, which you'll find on the Purple Air site, are showing us air quality index. The higher the number, the higher the risk. Generally speaking, anything over 100 is something to be alarmed about.
And there's a couple that are.
There are, and it changes all the time. I think what is really important for people to know is that the air sheds that we have are not uniform. We don't have just one air shed. We have many air sheds based upon a variety of geographical factors, including the topography, the elevation, the density of homes, the location of industry and highways, etc. So it's really key to recognize that it might be extremely clean in one part of the city on average throughout the year, and in other parts of the city it could be quite different.
How do you think we're faring compared to other cities our size? You've obviously been monitoring these stations for a few months now. What do you think of our situation in Kamloops?
Well, it's not good. Kamloops air quality, not just based on my readings, but on other provincial monitors, show that we actually exceed the provincial targets pretty much almost every year. Places like Vancouver, believe it or not, and Victoria have considerably cleaner air than we do in Kamloops.
Some of this is industry related, obviously. What else do you attribute?
Well, industry always plays a role in air pollution, but I think it's also important to note that they spend a lot of money remediating their impacts. They spend a lot of money on cleaning the flue coming off their factories, for instance. The biggest driver of air pollution in cities like Kamloops is actually what people like you and I do on a regular basis. It's driving our vehicles, it's heating our homes sometimes with wood stoves, it's using open fireplaces, pit burning outside, and of course there's also seasonal slash burning. So there's tons of things that contribute to the quality of our air.
How do you feel about where the various levels of government are in legislating air quality laws?
Well, I'm going to be very blunt with you, Susan, on this one. I think that BC hasn't done a very good job of protecting people from air pollution. And part of that is because it's an inconvenient truth that when you try to reduce air pollution, you often have impacts on industry, and people are worried about their jobs, for instance. But you know, it is really important for us to be aggressive on this. And government hasn't been doing a good job at all of even monitoring or communicating to people what's happening. So that's why I felt that it was necessary to step out and to do a project like this.
Okay, so this is sort of a Kamloops-centric situation in terms of the air quality stations you've put up. Would you like to see our City Hall take this more seriously?
I would. I mean, the City Hall was approached a few years ago, or maybe a year ago, by the BC Sustainable Energy Association in town, our Kamloops chapter, and asked if they would develop an emissions inventory for the city. They voted that down at that time. I think we really need to have to, deal with this because it is a significant human health issue. It's one of the reasons why we have very high rates of asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's also definitively linked to heart disease. In fact, exposure to air pollution usually results in heart disease. It's the quintessential outcome of air pollution exposure.
We are down to about 30 seconds of the segment. Do you see how fast that goes? You could talk for 3 hours, you're right, we discussed that.
I can talk forever on these things.
But interestingly, I want to leave this in the mind of the viewers if they're interested in having an air quality monitoring station put up. It's a small cost to get involved. It's a small little piece of equipment as you're holding it here in your hand. If people are interested, can they get a hold of you?
They can, so they can contact me at TRU at mehta@tru.ca. And what we'll do is for a $200 donation to buy one of these, and you'll own it, I'll set it up for you, make sure that you know how it works, and it'll become part of a public network of distributed air quality monitors.
Okay, and also people can learn more by going to kamloops.purpleair.org. That website is on the screen currently if you would like to learn more about what's involved in this study. Thank you for being here today, Dr. Mehta.
Thank you very much, Susan.
All right, quick break. We'll be right back with more Midday. Stay with us.